Hi guys, I'm Danny West and you're back with another episode of the Soapbox, your patient education station while you're stuck in isolation. And today we're talking about physio first aid if you're getting achy glutes, okay? So if you've been sitting a lot, working from home, on the couch a little bit more often than you normally are, some people will find like right along their low back they'll get kind of achy, even up in through their glutes. It might even start to go down kind of the sides of the legs. So here are a few little tips and tricks that if you are doing a lot of sitting and you're finding, like things are getting a little achy, that you can try before they progress. So you're gonna need a tennis ball or like a lacrosse ball, and we're gonna start to release the two main muscles in the glutes that can need a little love, again, if they're starting to talk to you a little bit. So upper glute muscles, if you put your hands on your hips, kind of right on this upper side part where my thumb is, that's called our glute meade, and it commonly is a culprit of causing that ache down the leg, so we're going to work on that first. So first technique is with a tennis ball, so you're going to lay on your back, and you're going to place the tennis ball just under that upper side of the glute. Once it's on there, you might have to kind of hold it there, but tip your hips towards the side that you have the ball under, and you could just kind of play with your angle, but you'll notice like, ooh, there's a little sweet spot there. You can hold and just breathe, and you're gonna wait until that starts to dissipate a little bit, and that can be different depending on the person. Some might take 30 seconds, some maybe a little longer, 1 to 2 minutes. The other thing you can try is you can start to open and close, again, the leg on the same side as the tennis ball, about 10 times, and it's just working on releasing the glutes. Now just FYI, if these are not happy, this will not feel very nice, okay? So it's a hard sell at first, but honestly, the more you do it, if you did it every day for a week, it will get less tender the more it starts to release. So the second one we're going to do is TFL. So you're going to find your hip bone and just slide down an inch. This is the little muscular part of the IT band. Okay, so I'm not up here, I'm not down here. Hip bone, slide down, tennis ball, and now I'm going to transfer my weight on it, and you might just need to tip the top hip forward a bit. Try to find the right angle, and then just hold. Again, this one does not feel nice. Just hold and breathe, and we're just waiting until it starts to dissipate, okay? So those are your two main tennis ball go-tos. Now say like, Danny, I don't have a tennis ball, but I have a foam roller. You can find these with a foam roller as well. So for that glute meade, so that top kind of side part of the glute, I would just try to tip my hips to the right a little bit, and here I'm kind of rolling and biasing that glute meade. You might even find a few little sweet spots and kind of want to hold it, again waiting for it to dissipate. And then for the TFL, it's as if you're like about to roll your IT band, okay, and you'll kind of get like over the bone. It'll kind of be right up closer to the top kind of pant line, and then you're going to tip that top hip forward. It's a little bit harder to find, and just play with your angle here. And again, this is targeting TFL. So instead of using the tennis ball right on the side. Now, if you have cups at home, there's also an easy way you can start with a bit of cup release. So I just use like the silicone, like the rubber cups, and I'm using kind of the two medium-sized ones, and you basically want to go off of surface area. Some come with an even bigger one. You could use that if it's right on your glute. So just kind of find which cup fits the surface area that you're trying to release. So the first spot you can do is actually kind of right along the low back. This muscle here, from your bottom rib down to the top of the hip, this is called your QL. So I'm just going to tuck this up, and I'm going to put a cup just on, not the center of the spine, just off to the side, the top part of the QL. You could also put it a little lower if you were finding the low back was getting kind of achy too. And again, you could also use that bigger one. And then the other one you're going to focus on is Glute Meade. So you can put a cup right kind of on the upper part of the butt. Won't show you that. But then I have my back one and my glute one on at the same time. Set a timer for like max 5 minutes. Take them off, and then you could do the other side. Okay? You can also like put a bit of lotion on over the skin before you put the cups on. But it's really great, and you can start on the back of the glute, and you could even kind of put it off to the side. It's, again, another massage technique. So out of those 3, tennis ball options, foam roller, or cups, pick one of those techniques. Those are not meant to use all at once. Pick one version of that, and maybe you could alternate it day to day if you have access to all of these. Maybe a cup one day, take a break, try the roller the next day. And if you find it's getting super tender from working on it, maybe give it a day break, but try some type of release work consistently on, again, either the low back or the upper glute and TFL for about a week and a half, and you should notice that achiness starts to dissipate. Now, because it was caused usually by prolonged sitting, the second thing you want to do on top of release work is avoid how long you're sitting. So set a timer. Some people will set a timer for like 20 minutes, because I get it. You'll be working on your computer, you kind of get in the zone. But set a timer and then get up, either do your release work or do this little dynamic stretch that I'm going to show you next. Okay? But you need to avoid the prolonged sitting. Otherwise, you're going to release these muscles and they're going to keep tightening up from sitting all the time. So you also need to change that in your activity regime. So the third thing, this is your go-to, what you're going to do after your timer goes off when you've been sitting, is we want to try to promote hip extension. So as I'm sitting here, you'll notice that my hips are bent, right? So if I was sitting in a chair, there's this crease at the hip. And the hip gets really used to being in that folded position. And it also puts like a different strain on my low back, usually kind of more rounded. Postural muscles in the back get tired. They can't hold us there as efficiently as they should, usually because of a weak core. Again, check out other soapboxes on that earlier. So you're going to do this dynamic stretch to promote hip extension. So if you can, you're going to come to kneeling. And I'm going to do just my right leg first, but you would do both sides. You can even pad something under the knee, like kneel on a towel or a pillow if it's too much pressure. But now before we go into the stretch, so my foot is kind of right under, if not just past my knee. My other knee is kind of starting right under my hip. Most important thing you want to think about is tucking the pelvis under. And already I can kind of feel a stretch in through the front of that hip. Keeping that pelvis tucked under towards the front of you, you're going to start to lunge as low as you can and then come right back up. And I'm going to do this 15 times. And notice I'm moving through it. I'm not holding this stretch. This is what makes it a dynamic stretch. And I'm also making sure that these hips stay square and it doesn't want to open up. So I got to keep that nice and square. So I'm going to go as low as I can go. For regular people, I usually just have their hands here for balance. Dancers out there, if you want to get fancy with this and start to stretch out even the fascia in through the front of the belly, you could do arms up and back. Arms up and back. So again, rocking through it, making it dynamic. Magic number 10 to 15. So notice on this hip, I'm trying to get my knee behind my hip. This is called hip extension. This is usually what hips lack, especially if they're always in this forward folded position. Okay, and then I would do the other side, prop the leg up, pelvic tuck, keeping the hips square. I go as low as I can go. And you might have a side that feels a little more restricted. For me, this seems kind of tighter today. Again, keeping that square, really waking up the hip, giving it some nice hip extension as a treat. Okay? The other thing that complements that nice is if you're already on the floor, even doing some little bridges. So I'm pushing more into my heels, push into my arms. I think of the upper glutes cinching together, a little hold, and then come down. And again, noticing I'm trying to work the hip into that hip extension. It's usually folded like this. And I would do a set of 10 with about a 3-breath hold at the top. So, throughout the day, minimize how long you're sitting for, okay? Any prolonged positions, the body just doesn't like. So set a timer, make 20 minutes kind of your max. You get down on the floor, do some of those deep lunges, 15 to 20 each side. Some bridges, go back to working. Maybe at the end of the day, after you've done a few cycles of that, maybe you could finish off with some of that release work, the tennis ball, roll it out midway through your day, just to give it a little bit of motion is lotion, and then loosening up the muscles to let them let go a little bit, okay? So those are my go-tos for achy glutes and even achy low back before it starts to domino and become something worse, okay? Start with those, and we'll see you next time on the Soapbox. Thanks, guys.